What up, comiXsense crowd, crew, community? This is our first ever episode of CSP. That is comiXsense, comiXsensory perception. This is our first ever episode for YouTube. We don't have any bells and whistles yet, but we will be having all of the bells and whistles as we progress. I am Issue X. I have Trobes in the house with me, Ian Michael, and comiXam. We're going to kick it, talk about some things today. So everybody introduce yourself, familiarize yourself with the YouTube community. I just want to say really quick, if you're watching on YouTube, I need you to like or thumbs down, either one. Thumbs up or thumbs down the YouTube page. If you are following on Facebook, like, subscribe to comiXsense on YouTube. If you are watching on YouTube or will be watching on YouTube, you see the scroll at the bottom of the screen. Join our Facebook group, like, follow our Facebook page. Again, thumbs up or thumbs down the video if you are going to be watching on YouTube. If you're on the Facebook page and the Facebook comiXsense community, which is a dope community, go to the YouTube page, comiXsense on YouTube. Follow our page, subscribe to our page. There you have it. That is what it is. So, everybody, tell us who you are. Who am I talking to? Who are you people?
I'll go. Sam's looking at me with those big eyes like, what are you doing?
We go clockwise, you know?
Clockwise, we'll do it. I'm the one usually here behind the camera, but not see. I'm Trobes. How you guys doing?
Kaiser Trobes.
Kaiser Trobes is this has dubbed me. And I enjoy long walks on the beach. Sam?
comicsam here. You know, if you've caught us on Facebook Lives, I've been doing some awesome shows with Issue X up there. At comicsams collects on Instagram. Just love comics. Have loved them my entire life, pretty much. From the time I was a kid to now. Got some beat up ones from when I was 3 years old, and you know, a ton on the wall behind me. So I'm excited to talk some shop with these boys.
So I'm Ian Michael. I'm the warm-up act usually on Tuesdays before the main event comes on.
Resident car salesman.
Listen, you want a loan? I got you approved.
That's what it is. Shout out to y'all. Glad to have you all here. Gonna have a lot of fun. We are missing Rich Doesn't Read. Our fifth member, Rich Doesn't Read. We are missing him. He will be a regular on these shows, so you can look out for that. Some real dope chemistry with Rich. Really cool. So we're gonna get into it. All
He froze.
from the collecting side as well as from the retail side on some level, right? Like we've all on some level been in comic book retail, worked in comic books on the various forms of comic media. But first and foremost, we're collectors, we're readers. And at CSP, comiXsensory Perception, we're going to talk about all the things related to comic books, right? We want to pull the veil back. We're going to go behind the curtain from the retail side, as well as from the collector side or the speculative side. So just want to let people know what CSP will be about going forward. It is certainly going to be a topic-driven show today. We are not going to focus on a specific topic. We're going to bounce around. We're going to talk shop because this is our intro to this YouTube world. We about to be running these YouTube streets. Shout out to all the other comic book YouTube shows, but move over. That's kind of what it is. So then, a couple things I wanted to get into. I wanted to of the week, right? That was Iron Fist #4. And then mysteriously, they removed that book from Key Collector. Now, Ian is our resident Iron Fist specialist. He's our resident Sword Master specialist. He buys these books. He reads these books. Talk about it, Ian.
These books are god awful dreadful. So the best thing I can compare them to is manga. But you know, let's talk about this book.
Manga's not dreadful.
I mean, to the right person, it's not dreadful. You know, I like some content.
Can we put Sam on the? Can we blow Sam up on the screen?
I don't know, man. You're asking the wrong person. I read no manga. Like
That
I
was just
tried reading
the look you gave, Sam.
I tried
Yes.
reading some manga. I can't get into it, The right to left isn't for me.
So, Ian, you said on the comiXsense group page that there is nothing speculative at all about Iron Fist #4. There is absolutely no reason why it should have been on Key Collector's Key of the Week.
No, and what's funny is it hit there, it was voted like one of the Key of the Weeks, and then all of a sudden Wednesday night it wasn't there anymore. It is still in the header for Keys of the Week, but the book has been removed. Now, I know people are going to turn to that book. They're going to say, well, uh, you get his brother. You got his brother at the end of issue #3. It's not a cameo appearance. It's not a first appearance. We're going to shoot back to actual Swordmaster #9, which is going to be the first cameo appearance of his brother, as well as issue #12, which, in my mind is probably considered his first full appearance. I know that a lot of people were specking on the cover because you got Fat Cobra and you got Bride of Nine Spiders. But, just going back and looking through everything, you got both those characters on a cover appearance of Iron Fist Heart of the Dragon #2.
Okay, so not a cover appearance, no first appearances in the book. What about the hint at the end of the book that his brother might be the new Swordsmaster?
So, I mean, you might get that, if anyone's reading the story, I know the book has been out for, 2 days now. So, I mean, it's not spoiling it now, as Ish likes to say, and likes to ruin things for my wife when it
Oh
comes
no,
to Harley Quinn.
listen, if you're tuning in to this show some days after New Comic Book Day, which is Wednesday, there's spoilers.
So, I mean, end of issue #3, he's searching for the shards. They're trying to get the shards of the broken sword, and essentially, are we going to get that character? Who knows? Are we going to get the original Iron Fist back? Who knows? Rich is blowing me up here in the comments. But, honestly, I think the way we're going to go with this is, we know Marvel is very big on the Asian market at the present moment. They're looking to expand. There's a lot of money there. They're developing some characters. We're going to get, unfortunately, let's just say from a PC standpoint, having Danny Rand as the Iron Fist makes no logical sense. So we're going to get, Lin Lee is the Swordmaster. Is the Iron Fist. We're going to get his brother as the Swordmaster.
And it's interesting that you mentioned the money in the Asian market, right? There's a lot of money on the table for those who are looking to spec or looking for investment purposes. We've talked about New Agents of Atlas. We've talked about Crescent. We've talked about EO. We've talked about Arrow, Silk.
You gotta get on. I mean, we've talked about it, not on YouTube though.
Right.
Like, you gotta ensure that all of this stuff that's been coming out, and you don't know where they're gonna go. You look back at the Protectors, from Totally Awesome Hulk when they first came together. You got
Awesome Hulk.
Silk has already blown up. That train has left the station. But New Agents of Atlas. Look at also Contest of Champions #1, First White Sox. Like, there are a lot of really great underrated books on the table for Asian specific characters.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing it for a reason.
Yep.
They're gonna see what's gonna stick. You've said that before, Ish.
Mm-hmm.
But what's the other one? Black Cat Annual 1.
Yeah, Black Cat Annual.
Tiger Division.
The Tiger Division, Taiguchi. I'll throw one on the table that is not necessarily the most affordable spec, but it certainly isn't expensive, and no one is considering an X-Spec, right? How about Jubilation Lee? Like, what are the odds that a Jubilee pops up on a Tiger Division or pops up in a New Agents of Atlas type book?
Do you think
you take any of the characters from the Asian celebration specials in any of those one shots, and all of them are fair game? every character that they put in those anthologies are just fair game. You should be specking on them. And this isn't even in the spec show.
You just sit on them, man.
Right, right.
Do you? I mean, that is like long-term spec. You know, we know the mutants are coming to the MCU. We got Charles Xavier. That's all we've gotten so far. You know, how quick are they going to be to after?
I feel like we got.
Oh, I lost him.
I feel like we got Wiccan and Speed.
Yeah, I'm not as like I know mutants are going to come, right? But you know, in a little bit, we're going to talk about a character that is just rumored to have a show in development. And even though we had some foresight to that, like you have zero clue what they're going to pull out of, you know, the House of Ideas and just make a show out of. You know, who would have thought that we'd be seeing Miss Marvel before we saw some more, you know, like, I don't know, Marvel
Fantastic Four
in history, you know,
Fantastic Four, you know, another iteration of X-Men, anything like they are pulling out modern stuff that's diverse. That I mean, we're going to get Riri Williams before we get Fantastic Four.
Exactly. What do you think, Trobes?
Well, I was just going to say, Marvel and even Riri, that might be better for the Disney Plus, right? Which is probably why they did it, because FF, if they throw that on Disney Plus, like we riot, right? Like that has to be, and for me anyways, I want to see that on the big screen. That's going to the theater and seeing that, because your anticipation of what that could be because of who they're, you know, even if it's Doom, if it's Galactus, whoever they're going to bring out as the villain, I'd feel as a fan gypped if Doom was on Disney Plus. I'd be like, come on. Like I want all the special effects. Yeah, I want everything that comes with the theater.
So I agree with you on that. Where I would argue maybe it would be served better is I think the problem with Fantastic Four, his story on the big screen or just in media in general has been that it's hard to tell a family-centric story without longer form storytelling. Something to make you care about these people's relationships, you know, the struggles that they have with the family dynamic, the fight with Victor Von Doom, like, you know, and how much of a history him and Reed have. There's only so much story you have in a 2.5 hour movie, right?
I almost think it would be better suited for several seasons of a television series.
Well, I think if you take what they're doing with Falcon and the Winter Soldier, you start it, and then like we know Cap 4 is going to be on the big screen, like
right.
Transition it in for the Galactus event,
right?
The Silver Surfer, like that's where I agree with you. Like I want to see the spectacle on the screen, but those interwoven like family,
because it's not like when you talk about a Fantastic Four, they're looking for actors that can't hold their own. And Disney Plus is already willing to cut the paychecks to get a Samuel Jackson, to get a Anthony Mackie, to get a, you know, these Sebastian Stans, to get people that Jeremy Renner, right? People that can hold their own in film. So it's not like we're going to get, you know, some bootleg low-level actors playing the Fantastic Four. Personally,
the contracts now are different, right? It's not, sorry to cut, but maybe the contracts, instead of a 3-movie deal, you're getting, hey, you're gonna have a 3-movie deal, but also
30 appearances.
We're gonna throw you on this or that, or you know, you'll be at the end of the credits on the final episode, or you know, I mean, you're gonna be in more than that. That might be the case. And Sam, you're right about the whole storytelling of it, but they're able to do it for other shows, so you can do it for FF. Like, you know, we had before Disney Plus, we had, you know, Iron Man and Cap, right? And you had other show or movies that you could tell a story and kind of, you know, like you said, the family dynamic or however you put it.
I mean, I think they'd have to do 3 films before integrating them into the MCU. similar to what they did with Iron Man or what they did with
Yeah.
Cap. Like they'd have to have 3 standalone films. Because at this point, I'm not interested in the Fantastic Four film, and I'm an X-Men guy. And I'm not even interested in an X-Men film more than I'm interested in long form storytelling that's necessary to introduce these characters. Because one, we have a fluid, functioning Marvel universe now that people seem to be. I mean, it's hit or miss, obviously, with some properties, but people seem to be happy with, seem to be very familiar with, and then we just, as hardcore fans, right, we don't want them to just throw the Fantastic Four into the mix because it's got to make sense, right? Like Sam said, Miss Marvel's already running around, America Chavez is running around, so it's got to make sense, or we're gonna naysay it anyway.
But here's the whole thing: the 2 previous versions of the Fantastic Four that we've gotten have been hour-and-a-half movies where they're just throwing the story together in a hurry. You know, as to where, you know, Marvel has shown they have no problem giving us a 3-hour-long movie, you know, and the content in those movies is good enough to where it keeps your attention. So, I mean, I think it's realistic that they could give us a good story that could fold us into the MCU after 1 movie.
I think it's more realistic with Fantastic Four than it is with the X-Men.
I would love to see him bounce back and forth. Like, you know what? If they introduced FF in a movie, which we know they're going to, right? You start there, and then you put him into a TV show, kind of what they did with like Wanda, you know,
or what they're doing with Dune,
or what they're yeah. I think that looking at the comments, right? Darren talks about, well, what about Inhuman spec? What about the Skrulls coming in with Secret Invasion? Like, if you start off with the movie and then fold them into this bigger universe with longer form storytelling, man. Like, think about the history of stories between all of those different groups put together in TV episodes, then culminating in something major. It would be crazy. Absolutely crazy.
And you have Moon Knight, who they're saying is not a second season. At least from what I've seen, that they're saying they're not a second season. So they have to do something with him, right? Maybe they'll integrate him into the big screen some way or another.
Yeah, he'll show up in the next climactic two-part movie, you know, Infinity War Endgame deal or what have you.
Whoa.
He'll show up in some Midnight Sun stuff. Some Marvel Knight stuff. Really quick, Comicsam. So just wanted to say really quick, Marvel has an interesting problem on their hands in that because they have a concise game plan, a concise timeline and schedule, they can't, even a movie that fails, Eternals, for instance, right? Eternals isn't done. We're gonna see a series or we're gonna see a second film because they can't afford to let Eternals just go away as if it didn't happen. They just can't. Because their continuity, the drawback with having such great continuity is you have to acknowledge your continuity.
It wasn't bad though. I
liked it. I liked it.
I didn't think it was great, but I didn't hate it.
I didn't hate it either, especially the second time through.
Yeah.
You know what? So I think about where some movies have left us, right? Look at where Iron Fist left us. If there isn't a better way to introduce some of the Asian market related superheroes, like that's perfect. You've got
as Darren just said
it out, and his sister is building this whole network, right? They can fight her.
So what Darren had actually just mentioned in the chat, what about Thunderbolts or the Defenders?
Well, we're gonna get there.
Yeah, we got some Thunderbolts conversation going. Like Darren says, like Marvel's going cosmic. It's both. They're going cosmic and they're going street level.
Right. Marvel Knights versus Silver Surfer.
And they're going supernatural. You know, like there are, what I love about where we're at, we can move past just the Thanos story, right? It was phenomenal. Like it will never be matched.
Really?
In my opinion.
I loved every second of it. I loved it.
Yeah, like the entire Infinity Saga, incredible. But we are now exploring pretty much what we do every single week at the comic shop. You have every type of story hitting video now, live action, just like you do when those comics hit the racks. And that's exciting.
Well, essentially, Marvel can just create pocket corners of their MCU where not everybody has to watch, you know, the horror stuff, right? Or the Midnight Sun stuff. Not everybody has to watch the Marvel Knights stuff. Not everybody has to watch the cosmic stuff or just the Cape Crusader stuff, right? And then at least that's what it looks like they're organically moving towards, right? And then you can do another ensemble film, you know, pulling all these characters in for whatever reason. Galactus comes, and obviously you're not, and you should not see Daredevil and Punisher, you know, running around with Captain Marvel and Thor, but they'd be doing what they do on their end of things, similar to what takes place in the comics, right? The younger characters would probably have their own niche in this greater MCU. I don't think they're ever going to get rid of an iteration of the Avengers, but I don't think that you're going to see Kate Bishop and Kamala Khan and all these characters on an Avengers team either.
I think you'll see a team, but you're not going to see that level of team, like a Kate Bishop led team going against, you know, Galactus. Right. I think. I don't know. It's going to be interesting because, you know, Darren, in the comics, Darren talks about the Kang Wars, right? So you've got that in addition to the multiverse with America Chavez, right? You have most likely Dormammu coming back.
He's got to come back. He's the greatest villain to ever appear in the MCU, and he wasn't defeated.
So, I mean, there's so much on the table. You've seen the head of the Living Tribunal multiple times now throughout, you know, a couple different mediums. I can't predict where we're going to be going, but it's pretty cool.
The Kang stuff is where I'm most looking forward to the Kang stuff. And it's honestly, it's because of the actor. I'm not going to lie.
Oh, yeah.
So do you think on that book we're priced out of the market yet?
Or do you think Kang?
On Kang. Yeah, first Kang.
Sure. Really? This is what we're doing?
No. I'm just, hey, we're tossing comic books into this.
Yeah, this is not a spec, though. The first appearance of Kang is not a spec.
It's not spec, but do you think that we're at the...
Are we at the top of that book? I think we're pretty high, not going to lie. Like, it got real hot, maybe a little too hot. It's come down. But, I mean, look at Thanos. Iron Man 55 plummeted.
Listen, if you have to pay $500 for a key book raw, you're priced out of the market, even if you can afford it. Like 500, you know how many modern keys or even some good bronze keys you can get for $500? I mean, yes, it's $500 isn't, no one's breaking the bank, but if it hits that, that's priced out of the market. The average person isn't just shelling out $500 and then finding it in grade. And it's more than a $500 book.
Yeah, but do you think there's still upward potential for the book?
Oh, yeah.
Question.
Oh, is that what you're asking?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
I mean, at this point, it's
it
not
hasn't hit
spec.
its high yet.
Yeah.
Well, what is a ceiling on a book that, if preserved, you know, what is the ceiling on that? What do we call in that book 60 years from now, right?
I mean, it's a villain.
I was just gonna say it's a villain. So
yeah, but everything silver right now is money, right? And it depends on the grade too. Like the higher the grade, the harder
silver
it is. It's going to be
Silver Fantastic Four.
Insane. Avengers.
Avengers. So what happens is, right, at some point in time, and I don't want to digress because there's some things I want to get into, but at some point in time, so we started collecting comics in the century where comics became a thing. Well, so we have a perspective of how we look at
a cultural movement.
Right. In the century where comics became a thing, right? It wasn't like comics existed the century prior. It was in that century. Mm-hmm. So we're so new in our understanding of what the evolution of comics will mean historically. When do they become historical pieces rather than niche, this niche cultural thing that collectors do?
Oh, they're already there.
It's already historical.
But what I mean is, I'm only saying that to say when you say Kang is a villain, he's a villain in a Silver Age Avengers book. So at what point, do we pass this precipice of it being a collectible thing because it's a collectible thing because it's a niche thing, and it's a collectible thing because, someone wealthy, 40 years from now wants it like he wants a Picasso?
We're already there. We are already there with the iconic characters I mean, you have Action 1, Batman 1, AF-15, you know, setting records.
Marvel Comics #1.
Yeah, Marvel Comics #1. But like the big three, right? Those three books continue to set records year after year when the highest grades come to market.
And they just peak each other. A Marvel Comics will pass an Action, and then a detective will come along and pass that. Then a Marvel Comics #1 will pass that. They just peak each other. Now AF-15 is competing in that same market.
And that's because they're cultural icons. And when you see look at what the Iron Man movies and the entirety of the MCU did to Tales of Suspense and Iron Man #1. Iron Man was not a household name. Iron Man was a throwaway character for years and years. Now, he's huge. Tales of Suspense 39 is an astronomical book, and it's not coming down. Same thing with Journey into Mystery.
I was going to say, with the exception of Journey into Mystery, Thor was not, like, nobody was, sales on Thor and Iron Man were not.
But like you ask the question, like, when does it go beyond? Like, we're there with certain characters, and I don't think that history is going to be rewritten anytime soon. It's just going to be interesting now that the timeline, right? We're looking at characters that were introduced sometimes in the 30s, mainly in the 60s and 70s, right? And present is here. They were down there. Now what's happening in the medium, they debuted only a couple years ago, and they're becoming household names. That, to me, is the most interesting thing about not only the spec game, but the entire industry right now. Like, you're writing history maybe every single week when these books come out, which is why, you know, spec of the week is so hot.
And
spec of the week.
And I truly do believe that anytime a new book comes out, especially Marvel, where there's a first appearance, you got to jump on it.
Yeah,
because you never 100%. Know what character is going to take off.
I agree with you 100%.
I still feel that way about DC as well.
You spent some money on Tosin, you know, like, that's because we believe in Marvel.
Right.
I sold that IDW exclusive.
Oh yeah.
And I set the market. That's the last book. I haven't flipped a book in forever, and I flipped that book because we didn't get our order of Black Panthers, and I wanted Tosin's.
Yep.
And so I threw it on there, and I would go for like a 150 or whatever. And I texted you, and you're like, "Holy crap! You just set the market for that book." And now I haven't looked in a while. It was up to 325. People were asking for it, but I turned that one that I had two of into 3 Tosins.
Yeah. And I'm gonna love in future episodes of CSP tapping your brain Trobes for investment advice, and, you know, just talking to the people about, you know, when to buy a book, even if the book is, you know, priced at a certain. I love your philosophy of sometimes you just got to jump and buy a book, excuse me, at the market price. So at some point in time in one of these CSP episodes, I'm going to want you to kick it with the people and talk about that. Because I think it's really dope. I think you have a unique and informative perspective that people can benefit from. So there's that. Trobes does some things you'd be surprised. Look at that wall behind him.
I was gonna say, I'm not surprised. Look at that wall.
You know, honestly, when it comes to this stuff, you guys are geniuses. I'm just along for the ride.
Wow, that's a high compliment, man.
Only because we didn't get our stuff. Taskmaster 3 1 in 25. We didn't get it.
So what is?
I went out and bought it.
That's a book. That's a book for me.
Like, and Sam, mine's in grade too. That's the thing. Like, I gotta send it out.
I'm having bad memories of Taskmaster 3.
Yeah,
I'm having really bad memories of Taskmaster 3 as someone who was working in a comic shop and definitely had some influence over the orders of Taskmaster 3. I said, hey, we need to get a ton of these Taskmaster 3, and I was told I am not ordering the Pepsi Man book. I'm like, what?
and you know, and I was mad because you and I had a conversation.
I was mad.
No, hold up. Pepsi Men are money. CM Punk. You know, come on.
Like, I'm not ordering the Pepsi Man book. Look at what the Pepsi
true.
Man. Name a 1 in 25 outside of the Tosin 1 in 25 featuring a Marvel character in the past 2 years that's ringing more bells than Taskmaster. I call them the threes, the duo of threes. Taskmaster 3 1 in 25, Black Panther number 3 1 in 25. No 1 in 25 featuring a first appearance of a character in the 20 since 2020 is ringing more bells featuring a first appearance than those two books.
It's a huge book.
And I felt
Huge,
sick buying
huge
it for
books.
$75. I paid $75. Now I'm okay with it, obviously.
I remember
He messaged me. He messaged me. He was like, "How strongly do you feel about the book?" I'm like, "Buy the book."
Because I was like, I was ready to jump, as he would say, jump off the porch. I was like, because I was mad I didn't get it. I was supposed to get it. I didn't. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me. What is going on here? And then I was like, I'm just gonna buy it.
But what about that? What about that Black Panther number 3 too? You got that on the low end of the market.
I paid $99 for it.
He got it right.
He got it. He got it right when it was going for around $100.
Yeah, right before people started going crazy.
I mean, let's toss it up to Diamond too for only sending us B covers and not A covers, and then sending us what was that Black Panther Forever number 3 as replacements.
Yeah, that was horrible. So I want to start talking about some of the current comic book current events in the news currently. Right, we have 2 breaking stories from Disney: Wonder Man, Thunderbolts. I put them together because I feel like they should go together. I feel like the reason the Wonder Man show was announced is because a Thunderbolts project was announced. So let's talk about that. We know that Wonder Man's origin is steeped in Baron Zemo treating him with an ionic treatment that, you know what I mean? You know, wanting him to be a part of his original Masters of Evil and having him infiltrate the Avengers with the intention of killing the Avengers. So we also know that Baron Zemo is the original leader of the Thunderbolts. So I feel like the Wonder Man news coming hot on the heels of the Thunderbolts is strategic rather than random. So what are your thoughts?
Oh, he froze on me. You guys there?
Yeah, we're here.
So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, with Wonder Man, if I remember correctly, is he not also using PIM particles?
Now, well, he was to kind of stabilize the ionic energy that was running rampant through his body from the process he underwent with Baron Zemo to become Wonder Man.
So that's where my mind went right away, was kind of like, okay, well, how are they going to, where's the introduction going to be? And that's where I kind of went. I was like, okay, well, is it an Ant-Man thing? Is it, you know, how are they?
I think it's a White Vision thing, to be honest.
Okay.
But that's just me wildly speculating.
Yeah, I haven't thought about that. I was on the PIM stuff. Okay.
So I mean, obviously we know what characters we have already as part of the Thunderbolts. Do you think that we're going to get the
Well, do we know?
The Black Widow? Well, I mean, let's think. We have Baron Zemo. We have Taskmaster, but my question is, are we going to get the Black Widow version of Taskmaster, or are we going to get the actual version of Taskmaster?
See, I think all of those speculations are logical speculations, but I also think they're reaching. Right now, we only have one true Thunderbolt in the MCU, and that is Baron Zemo.
Yeah.
That's the only true Thunderbolt that is in the MCU.
The founder.
You know, all of the other characters would be speculation to put on that team.
Yeah, and then it depends on what version of the Thunderbolts you're going to get. Are you going to get the most current?
I don't think you're going to get any version, any known version of the Thunderbolts.
I don't either.
I think they're going to take all these characters who have been shown to be, you know, non-believers in what's going on, right? In the normal, like, mainstream of, you know, heroics right now. Your Yelena, your obviously Baron Zemo, But who's the other guy?
Darren put US
Darren
agent.
put US
Yeah.
agent. Yeah, like it's going to start with that. I mean, they've been recruited. I can't see it being maybe anything other than two groups, you know. And Thunderbolts looks like it's the one that's winning out right now. So I think that's what we're getting now.
I mean, I think we're gonna get
What I-
swerved. I don't think
what I
US
would
Agent
love-
or Yelena are gonna be Thunderbolts.
Yo, I would love it somehow if Punisher came into the mix.
Mm.
Because he's been in iterations of the Thunderbolts.
Yeah.
I know the rumors are of him in Armor Wars instead, but what a cool way to introduce him. Or even as an antagonist against these heroes that are doing, you know, going against the grain. I don't know.
I'm gonna stick with my original theory. I don't think Yelena is gonna be a Thunderbolt. I don't think US Agent is gonna be a Thunderbolt. I do think they're gonna be Thunderbolts, and I do think Baron Zemo will lead the Thunderbolts. But I don't think US Agent will be a member, and I don't think Yelena will be a member of the Thunderbolts.
So like a lot of people are thinking Ghost. A lot of people are thinking Justin Hammer. Do you think there's any?
I wouldn't be a fan, to be honest with you.
A fan of
Justin Hammer in the Thunderbolts.
Or Ghost?
Ghost would be okay.
Ghost from Ant-Man?
I mean, unless they're doing
Yeah.
the dark. I mean, because it was what the Dark Reign. Is that what it was? Where there was a hammer thing and Ant-Man was in that or something. I forget all the members of it, but it was like a Dark Reign story that had Hammer.
I mean, they were legit like evil versions of pretty much every.
Yeah, that was the Dark Avengers. That was when Osborn went to replace the Dark Avengers. No, I think there will be an actual Thunderbolts team led by Baron Zemo, and I think it will have the original premise: bad guys pretending to be good guys. I think Baron Zemo will be replaced. You know, Captain V will be replaced, and I think because remember the original premise of Thunderbolts was he was a good guy who convinced a bunch of bad guys. You know, his struggle was, I got to lead these. Like, that was the original premise of Thunderbolts, right? Like, I got a team of bad guys that are bad. They're villains. They don't want to be heroes. They're not signing up to be heroes, but I have to somehow convince them that we have to do this thing because it's to our benefit and it happens to be a good thing. That was the original premise of Thunderbolts. I don't know. I just grew up reading Thunderbolts, so I remember the original premise and what it was about. And then it turned out that the good guy, Captain V, or Victory or whatever you wanted to call himself, Citizen V, was actually a bad guy all along. It was like a double swerve. You know what I mean? It was like literally being a double swerve, doing a double swerve. So I don't think that they're going to have to convince White Widow and US Agent to go beat up some bad guys. I still think that those characters will be members of a ForceWorks team that's going to be developed. Again, that's if they stick with the original premise of Thunderbolts.
I hope so, because I got a lot of ForceWorks. So, but
Yeah, me too.
Getting back to Wonder Man for a second, like I don't know how they're going to introduce him. I also don't know why. I'm not a huge Wonder Man fan. I know he has a huge history from Avengers 9 all the way up till now. But, you know, in the comments, Darren writes about how Simon's brain patterns were put into the Vision. I wonder if they reverse engineer that. And
that's why I said White Vision.
Yeah, you take Vision, and how does Vision try to gain humanity to come back and, you know, get what he's always wanted? That might be the story of Wonder Man.
I mean, it's such a layered story that makes sense, because if you keep in mind, his brain overlay into Vision is arguably the reason why Vision was in love with Wanda, because Wonder Man was in love with Wanda. It's the reason why when Vision's body was destroyed and they remade his body and they went to Wonder Man and asked him to overlay his brain again, he wouldn't, because he felt some type of way about Wanda. So it only makes sense that White Vision, for reasons you said as well, you know what I mean, becomes Wonder Man. However, at one point in time, Wonder Man kind of became less human and more like ionic.
Yeah,
type.
he was literally like made of energy.
I mean, he suffers from the same problems as Wanda does. They're both like mentally emotional wrecks, like two of the worst characters, personality-wise, in my opinion, in all of comics. Mainstream characters like Wonder Man and Wanda.
Well,
Scarlet Witch.
It makes sense from a power set standpoint too, because Wonder Man is supposed to be the strength level or the equivalent of like a Sentry type.
Yeah, he's supposed to be equivalent to Sentry.
Yeah, like a Sentry level character, but so is Vision. So it's
Vision's a little under. Vision's is a little under when it comes to yeah. I mean, Vision is a class 100.
It's like
Vision elevated to class 100 strength, but Wonder Man was considered on par with Sentry, which is like somewhere else, like no upper limit type.
And for all intents and purposes, he's immortal.
Yeah, he's immortal.
Yeah.
He's a pacifist though, so currently he's a pacifist. Yeah, Wonder Man is, and I kind of tend to agree with you. Wonder Man isn't the greatest character. He has a deep and rich history, but it really evolves on him getting emo and deciding that the Avengers way has never been effective, and then fighting the Avengers over and over and over and over again, only to be forgiven, and rejoining the Avengers only to snap and fight them again. Like that, I don't know.
He's also never had a really great iconic storyline after those runs of Avengers and West Coast or whatever. Like in the modern era, like 2000s up, he's been an ancillary character in and out of things like the Children's Crusade and like any Wanda related story or like any big massive thing. Like he's just in and out, like an afterthought. So I don't think same with Sentry lately.
But you know why Shooter brought him back, right?
No.
So they used Wonder Woman early on and they got rid of him because DC was upset that Wonder Woman was analogous to, Wonder Man was analogous to Wonder Woman. So they stopped using him. Shooter brought him back when he discovered that DC created a character named Power Girl, which was analogous in their minds to Power Man. So Shooter's like, okay, screw it. We're gonna we stop using Wonder Man to appease them. They're doing the Power Girl thing. We're gonna bring Wonder Man back. It's this character who it's very hard to write, right? Like, so the premise is cool, right? You're an actor and a stuntman, and you know what I'm saying? Like, this is cool. This could be interesting, right? But then you have the power of Superman, but you're afraid because you're like, he lacks confidence. He has a very low self-esteem. He's very he used to run away from fights, like straight run away. You got the power of Superman and you used to just straight run away from fights because you just don't have the confidence. And this was an emotional issue that he absolutely had to overcome. And it took him some time to overcome. Then it got to the point where like, dude, you're really emo. Like you be flipping the script on the Avengers and beefing them, like straight beefing them, assembling teams. Remember he made the Revengers?
Oh yeah.
And went and beat up the new Avengers, and then you know what I mean? Like legit, you know, now he's a pacifist. To the point where in extreme situations, he's not going to do anything physical. In extremis. I don't know, man. I don't know what to expect from a Wonder Man show.
You know, earlier today when we were testing this out, Ish was tossing at me that Hawkeye is the lamest character of all time.
Of all time.
But I mean, after discussing Wonder Man, I think Wonder Man is by far the lamest character of all time.
But what happens if Wonder Man punches Hawkeye in the face?
I'm not compelled by Wonder Man. Our views are going down.
Yeah, I'm not compelled by Wonder Man either. But I guarantee you that all of us here will watch a Wonder Man Disney Plus show.
It won't be day one.
How many episodes am I going to watch?
It won't be day one. Not like
right? Why can't we get Hercules?
we're gonna get him
No.
like as soon as
Yeah, but
Thor comes out.
The problem with Hercules, and I'll say it now,
Marvel's first superhero.
I know, I love Hercules, and I have zero problem with Hercules, but a modern day Hercules show will it will be very political, and it will be very diverse, and I don't think it would sit well with a lot of people. And I'll just leave it at that because I don't want to go down that road with this show.
No.
But like, I think that's what will happen. Oh, Ish froze.
Why would it be very political?
Why?
Yes, why?
Because Hercules is historically a bisexual character, and I think that it would be an important aspect of his identity in a modern show.
Okay, so that's interesting, right? Because I agree. And historically he is, in as much as Loki was. But like Loki's not just bisexual, like Loki was sleeping with animals and having kids with animals and like all kind of stuff, right? So, but when we talk about historically, right, are we talking about historically in the Marvel comics or historically in regards to how he's portrayed in mythology?
It's both.
Because he's only recently been portrayed as bisexual in Marvel comics.
True.
Right, like in the 21st century.
Yeah, it goes into the lore, you know.
Right.
And it's not like that's the storyline you have to follow. You know, the great thing about these characters is there have been many, lots of iterations of these characters.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, you could go anywhere with the storyline.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, let's look at it. Venom. Venom was the baddest of bad guys in the beginning. Now an absolutely beloved character.
Beloved?
Venom?
Come on.
I'm being ish right now.
Venom is 100% a beloved character.
I know.
That's why I didn't respond. As soon as I saw his face say beloved, I was like, I'm not going to respond to that.
I thought you wanted to debate that. I was like, all right.
No, I'm not going to debate that Venom is a beloved character. I think Venom is the fact that Venom is beloved is a failure. Obviously, it's certainly not. It's a success on Marvel's end, but in my opinion, it's a failure to maintain the integrity of compelling villains. Deadpool is another example.
I was just going to say Deadpool.
Of villains that are really compelling and so compelling that people love these bad guys. Let's make them anti-heroes first and then transition them into heroes.
He was called the Lethal Protector.
Say again?
His first book was the Lethal Protector.
Well, yeah, but he was a villain.
Yeah.
That's my point. You're speaking exactly to my point.
But that's why they created Carnage. Because
exactly.
You legit now have that he is nothing but a bad guy.
Yeah, but you're still speaking to my point. They created Carnage because they left a vacuum when they took away a compelling Spider-Man villain.
No, I think it's
like Spider-Man was actually afraid of Venom, and he said as much. He used to run from him.
Everything changed, right? It was cool to root for the bad guy. It became a cultural thing.
Like, I understand that.
Yeah,
but that doesn't mean you have to cave. That doesn't mean you have to cave. You don't have to take Deadpool, who was a compelling villain, and turn him into, what you turn him into.
Oh yeah, but Deadpool's such a cooler hero.
Yeah, but you know what? I was so mad.
I don't know, man. The circle chase was dope.
As soon as I'm trying to think of exactly what happened. I remember when I would like Deadpool, and nobody liked Deadpool, and then
he was a villain.
Right, but then all of a sudden something flipped. Like a light went off, and everybody's like, "Oh, he's like the coolest guy." And then I started seeing T-shirts. I'm like, "Wait a minute, I had that T-shirt like a long time before you. What are you wearing that? Like all these different." He was like then beloved if you want to say it, but all of a sudden now he's like loved. I'm like, what did I miss? When did you all start liking this guy that nobody liked and everybody thought was whatever?
It was the 90s, man. The 90s made everyone like the bad guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got Sabretooth limited series, Lethal Protector, and Deadpool, like boom, boom, boom.
Well, in visual media too, like the coolest characters were the bad guys. Batman the Animated Series. You watch Batman's badass, but damn, the reinvention of all those villains were phenomenal. And then you get Harley Quinn, and it's like, Wow, we love villains.
Which Michael Chang just actually put that point in the chat.
Believe you said Harley Quinn, because no, Harley Quinn was lame. Like when Harley Quinn when she first dropped with the bells and absolutely they put her on Suicide Squad, which is literally where they send villains to die. They send villains to die.
I'm talking about the cartoon.
Oh, I was going to say, because when she transitioned to comic, Harley Quinn actually had to catch on and build a following. They had to change her. They changed her look. They changed her gimmick, so to speak, and she built a following. Original Harley Quinn that transitioned from cartoon to comics with the Harley Quinn costume with the bells on it was horrible.
Mad Love was incredible.
Listen, her character was not. People weren't breaking the door. You know how long that book, that first appearance of hers, you could buy for what she has right there. How much did you pay for it?
Give me that, Trobes.
I was just gonna say she was so lame. I paid $20 for this book raw.
Like it was a lame character. No, Sam, I'm not hating because she's dope.
Gave this to
when
Darren.
she first came out,
he pressed it
was really lame, and they changed her. Look at her out. They literally changed her to make her more appealing. When you put a character on the Suicide Squad back then, it was because you were taking B and C level villains. The Suicide Squad is what it is. It's where you put villains that you want to kill off. You put them on the Suicide Squad.
Trobes, sell me that for $20.
Like that's literally what they did with Harley.
That are in your vault somewhere for $20, and you know exactly which one I'm going for.
Trobes, I need an anniversary gift for my wife.
You should go buy her something then.
So since we're talking about upcoming Marvel shows,
that's a book I want, Trobes. That's
how about we talk about the current Marvel show? What do we think? I know we all have our individual opinions.
I love it.
You can't talk about episode 2. I haven't had the chance to watch.
No, I'm sorry. We're on a YouTube show. What are you doing here? We're on a YouTube show.
I gotta go do my Rockstar thing this weekend. I had to do my Rockstar thing last week.
Everything before getting into the Lion's Den.
This one is lip syncing to being a rock star.
So Magnificent Miss Marvel. We're gonna talk about it. There is an elephant in a room somewhere in regards to the show, right? A lot of haters.
I haven't heard much bad.
Oh yeah. First of all,
I haven't heard anything bad.
No.
Nothing toxic from the community, like the comic book community.
Yeah, he'll be back. No, I mean, it's not as real as this shit. It will always say it's not for me, right? It's not geared towards me.
I'm not the target audience.
A 42-year-old balding dude, but
definitely not geared towards a 46-year-old gorgeous strapping black male like myself. But
who's that?
I'm all in.
But I mean, I've enjoyed it. I haven't like, I don't love it. I don't hate it. I enjoy it. It's not, I'm not upset when I see there's a new episode or anything like that. I mean, I haven't seen any of the hate. I'm with Sam. I haven't seen the hate for it.
Nick Matthews said Wonder Man is his third favorite character.
Ryan Pace, Pete, and Groot. That comment made me laugh.
So, and that's the whole thing. We might not be the target audience, but I still enjoyed the first episode. I thought was great.
Yep.
I had a hard time getting into Moon Knight. Moon Knight drove me nuts.
Whoa.
So yeah, we'll get there.
I like Moon Knight.
I agree with Ian, but with Magnificent Miss Marvel, I just want to say, after watching Obi-Wan, which we're going to talk about, and being annoyed so much by Leia, seeing Iman Vellani, she's such a refreshing. She can act.
Mm-hmm.
Like she really owns this role. It makes me believe. I don't like, my only criticism is Miss Marvel is the leader, the most respected member of the champions.
She didn't start out like that though.
I mean, she wasn't so goofy.
Yes, she was. Go back.
Oh, I've been reading Miss Marvel, bro.
You gotta go. She was goofy in Volume 1, dude. She's so goofy. That's what made people love her.
Maybe it's interpretation. Maybe it's interpretation because, I'm used to, balls to the wall. Do not piss off Kamala Khan.
Well, lately, yeah, she's she's turned into what might be
especially that last Champions run.
Yeah, like
when they did Kamala's
the
Law.
leader of the next
Man.
generation of heroes.
Yes,
It-
for real,
like,
for real.
Her and Moon Girl, you know, but like,
Not Moon Girl doesn't get the respect.
no,
Moon
she
Girl's just
doesn't.
smarter than everybody else.
But I think like those two are going to be the future leaders of like the young hero crowd, you know.
Like they really respect Kamala Khan, Miles
Yeah.
Morales, Nova, Riri. They respect her. Vision is like so emotionally broken over even looking like she betrayed them because of how Kamala's gonna look at her. You know what I mean?
What I love about Miss Marvel is that it has the same fun, playful energy that a Spider-Man Homecoming has for that age group and that the audience that it is targeted for. Like it is an incredible entryway into the superhero medium for a kid. And that's honestly, as a comic book collector who cares about the investment side of it too, and like the future of like, is this going to still be around when I'm 80 years old? Like that's important to me. But in watching it, it's just a joy. Like
You said it. It's a joy.
It is.
It is.
2 where like that I won't spoil it.
I'm going to because we're going to talk about
Sam, just do it. Like, listen, he should have already seen it.
Yeah, we're going to talk about it.
She gets out of that like car and she's like swooning and the music hits and it's all like old school music and she's just goofily dancing. Like that's hysterical.
It's
Like,
we get
it's
Cameron, right?
And
We get Cameron. Do we get are we getting Clandestine? Right, like rumors are saying we're going to get Kate Bishop. These are the rumors. We're getting Kate Bishop.
Clandestine, right?
I didn't hear the Kate Bishop thing.
Oh yeah, because her makeup artist is. This is the rumor. Someone discovered that her makeup artist is listed in the credits for one of the episodes. Kate Bishop's Hawkeye makeup artist is listed in the credits for one of the upcoming episodes.
That's going deep. If you're looking at the makeup artist,
that's what fanboys do, right?
Makeup.
Man alive.
What if they just like her makeup style?
So I just want to toss this. I want to toss this out to you guys right now as we are on this doing this podcast. I just had somebody.
Not a podcast; it's a YouTube show. Go on.
Yeah, YouTube show, whatever we're doing. I just had an acquaintance message me with a comic book collection, which includes Godzilla #1, as well as Batman Beyond #1.
That's awesome. We can kick it about it after the YouTube show.
Buy it.
Yes.
So, when his mom shows up, right? Is this a possible clandestine, like breadcrumb?
Yeah, it's 100%.
Are you talking about at the end with the
right?
The gauntlet? Yeah,
100%. It's clandestine, and then I mean, I think that's going to be like the through line throughout the entire show. Like that's the group, and it's going to eventually lead to. I don't know.
Who spec'd on clandestine months ago? I gotta say, I told everyone.
I don't know. We just started this show. I don't know.
I mean, you know, I told everyone go get your clandestines, go get your first solo, get your clandestines. But that having been said, so this show is rumored to have Damage Control in it, Clandestine showing up, and again, Kate Bishop as well. So
just because of it's a young hero, reckless with her powers, has no clue what she's doing. Like all the groups are going to be on it, and I'm hoping at some point that like the good groups are going to get involved. Like Monica's going to show up, and that's how she recruits her into like the Marvels down the line. Like that is what I'm expecting and what I'm hopeful for.
I'm expecting Brie Larson.
I don't know.
Think about it. Brie Larson's her idol.
That's true.
She meets Brie Larson in her first appearance. I thought Brie Larson's character.
Yeah.
Yep. I said to my wife when we were watching the first episode, I'm like, they didn't pull her for the first episode, did they? She's like, what? I'm like, that's all you're hearing about is this, you know what I mean? That's like, but obviously she wasn't in the first episode, no spoiler, Ian. But that's I thought there's no way they're pulling her. I was gonna be shocked. I wouldn't be, let me rephrase. I wouldn't have been shocked if they would have pulled her for the first episode with how they were talking about her.
Well, I have two things to say really quick. One, Sam, you said something. It's a great show for kids. Easter eggs that we're getting in this show, these like really cool comic Easter eggs are like, I'm loving it, right? And the second thing that I want to say is this is absolutely a tie-in to the Marvels.
Of course.
Absolutely. So in other words, they
It's our
have to
lead-in.
tie it in. They have to link Kamala Khan with
I missed it, Ish.
Yeah, can you say that again, bud?
Oh, I said they have to link one of the two known Marvels to Kamala Khan. At some point in time this season, this series has to do it either in the end credits of the last episode. Like, it has to happen.
Yeah, something's gonna happen where it goes down, you know.
One other thing, if I wanted to talk about really quick, since we covered Magnificent Miss Marvel and Ian doesn't want to stay on that subject. Spoiler. How about that?
She dies in episode 4. So, like you, when we first start after the first episode,
You guys hate Leia so much.
dude,
I hate her. I hate her.
Ish and I talk, and I'm like, look at this, but I can't stand. He goes, Leia. I'm like, I can't. Like, and it really what did it to me, and we talked about it on the page, but what really did it to me was when Flea's henchmen, when they hit a tree branch, and just like, this is the tree branch, and it's like, oh, I can't get past this little. I was like, I'm done. Like, I don't know if I can do the show. Like, I was really mad. I was like, this is just stupid. This little kid, I have a 9-year-old and a 6-year-old daughter. My daughter cannot outrun me, and I'm fat. Like, she's not getting like, this is stupid. And then she did it not once, but she did it again. Like, she did it again. And then all of a sudden, though, Obi-Wan had her.
We're gonna go into the woods.
And I was just like,
we're gonna take our kids into the woods.
Yeah.
Or we're just gonna send them, and I'm gonna film, and I'm gonna watch you get blocked by a tree.
I'm not gonna get blocked. It was a tree. It was a branch.
A branch. I'll watch you get blocked by a branch.
But I will say the other actors and like the other, they brought it up and it got better, because I was really like, this is not gonna be the show for me, and I was gonna be, because I thought it was gonna be this whole Leia thing.
You know what it reminded me of with that first episode when that scene happened? It reminded me of what was that show with Kevin Sorbo?
Hercules.
Hercules and like Xena Warrior Princess, like those kind of chases and fights.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, what is happening here?
Yeah.
This is.
But as Ish said, though, it picked, the acting. She's a good actor, and I'm
who? Leia?
No, not Leia. No.
Oh.
Yeah, she's a kid. She's doing great.
No, stop it, Sam. Just stop.
Please,
Sam.
dude. I wanted to drop kick my TV. I had problems with my TV.
Of a young Leia, like rebellious.
I used to like Sam.
Sam just respects her because she's taller than him. So
that's fine. That's fine.
So I want to say this.
In this last episode, it was great.
Star Wars has put out 2 bad television shows in a row.
Oh, I think you're crazy.
Book of Boba Fett was aight. Is aight. This Obi-Wan reminds me of some bad Star Wars films that I watched. Like, it's got the same energy. I'm not compelled. Obi-Wan, Ewan McGregor is not compelling in the show at all. Like, I don't have an emotional attachment. I don't sympathize. I don't empathize with the character. 1 episode left, and what did you give me? Like, what is it that you're giving me in 6 episodes? Because all we're getting is 6 episodes. So, like, they don't even know. Yeah,
I think what they gave you.
No, it's not greenlit. I did the research before we came on. No, season 2 is not greenlit. Ewan McGregor says he'd like a season 2.
I don't think we are gonna get a full story at all. I think we're gonna be left on a cliffhanger.
We can't get a full story because we know how this story ends. like we know already what this eventually it's going to lead to. Ewan being old.
Back on Tatooine.
Right, on
We know that
Tatooine.
we know that Leia is going to get back there. You
Right.
know, you don't know what happens to
Help me,
Reva.
Obi-Wan. You're my Obi-Wan. You're my only hope.
Yeah, you don't know what happens to the third sister.
Reva?
You know?
She probably dies.
She's the only one where you don't know, right? But everything else, yeah, you're leading up to
Darth
basically
did her dirty, man.
Vader in Rogue One, Obi-Wan in A New Hope. Like, that's where you're going to get to. But there's a lot of years in between that.
He basically trolled her for her whole life.
A lot. You know?
Like straight trolled her.
So this was. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Ian.
Has Jar Jar Binks made his appearance yet?
This is well after Jar Jar Binks.
So this was
like well after
this was
time.
a quote from Cho about a season 2. You know, we always did conceive this as a limited series, so it's not an adventure of the week sort of story. It's one big story with a beginning, middle, and end. So I think this story was very much conceived to be its own standalone. I mean, there are of course more stories that you could tell. There's obviously another 10 years before we get A New Hope with a character like Obi-Wan Kenobi. I think even just watching him ride across the sand sometimes is interesting. So who knows? It's hard to say right now, but it was not the intention. And that was basically about, you know, if there was going to be another season. So
they need to change their intentions. Otherwise, this thing it's the suck.
I don't know. People love it.
And people hate it.
I think a lot of people absolutely love what they saw with the last the last episode. The last episode is, in my opinion, what should have been happening throughout the entirety of the series, where you have meaningful flashbacks. It's what the Book of Boba Fett didn't do. Like, you had Boba Fett sitting in a Bacta tank having flashbacks to his time before. Like, I want to see flashbacks to your previous like history, and like we should have saw Boba flashback to like being trained by Cad Bane and battling him and then going out on his own, stuff that we haven't seen. What I loved about this last episode of Obi-Wan was you saw a duel between Anakin and Obi-Wan that the lightsaber fighting mirrored what you saw in Mustafar. You saw Anakin's tendencies, not only what leading up to what was going to happen in episode 3, but you also had it relate to his actions in, you know, this particular era and how he like just went immediately to attack. And then you also see how Vader doesn't have any patience in any of the other films. You know, like there's so much behind it. This last episode was masterfully done. Obi-Wan, he's just he's out of the game, man. It's like how Obi got his groove back. That's what this whole series is about. You know, he's a man out of his element, and he's trying to find it. And he's also trying to. I don't think he wants it. He reluctantly is doing this and finding it along the way. That's the story that's here in front of me.
And it's not a good one. But I definitely appreciate the perspective. I think it's a very interesting take, a good perspective. I think it's dope that that's what you got from it. And I like to hear different people's perspectives and ideas on the same things that we've all seen. Personally, for me, again, I just want to say it's not compelling. Maybe it's Ewan McGregor's portrayal or lack thereof that is not, it's not believable to me. It's just not. Darth Vader, this last episode, I will agree, was dope. For what it was, it was dope. But when you say that the other episodes should have been similar, it speaks to what they lack.
Oh yeah,
right. It doesn't speak to what made them great. It speaks to what could have made them great.
My favorite episodes have been episode 1 and this last one. For different reasons.
You like the chase scenes, okay?
I don't like the chase scenes. I love seeing Obi, like where he was, seeing what.
Okay, that was cool.
What life has become,
right,
for him. How such a the general, one of the best generals of the Clone Wars, is now cutting meat. You know,
I just want to encourage everyone watching on YouTube to like and subscribe, or dislike and subscribe. Thumbs up, thumbs down. This don't just do nothing. Thumbs up or thumbs down the page. Do something. Do something.
Make a comment about the guy who's got a guitar and lame books behind him, and the fact that you guys are having this Star Wars conversation and I'm taking a nap over here.
So also like and follow comiXsense on Facebook. Like and follow our page on Facebook. Join the comiXsense group. Like and follow the page on Facebook and join the comiXsense group. If you are watching from comiXsense, yes, thumbs up or thumbs down on YouTube. Subscribe to the YouTube channel on comiXsense, COMIXSENSE on one. This is CSP, comiXsensory Perception. I think we had a really cool first outing. We kicked it about a lot of things. Love having you on the house. Next week we will have Rich Doesn't Read chilling in the house with us as well. Shout out to everyone who commented, who left a comment, who came and kicked it and watched along. This will be a topic-driven show in the future. We just kind of wanted to do kind of a little roundtable and cover some current events this time as our intro into these YouTube streets. We're very familiar with navigating the Facebook streets, but now we're in a new hood. We done jumped off the porch, got on the train, and rode up the block a bit. Here we are. So tell everybody what you want to say before we get up out of here.
I'll say I cannot wait to see Rich do Sam's idea. I'm very excited to see that next week. I'm not gonna spoil it on here, but it's gonna be to see what he
really
says.
Cool. It's gonna be a really cool thing. Really cool.
I can't wait for Rich to give us a full review on Step by Bloody Step. The one and only book that he reads. That to me is absolutely exciting. But
Comicsams.
I'm just happy to be here. I love having the opportunity to sit down with the three of you. I think it's fun. Usually it's just you and me-ish, and this is a cool dynamic. I love hearing everyone's perspectives on what we have going on. All
right, so
we're talking about.
Follow Comicsams on Instagram. Follow Ian's Comics Finds on Instagram. Again, comiXsense. We're on Instagram. We're on the Twitter. We are on Facebook. We have the group. We are on YouTube. You can follow us on all of the platforms. I am Issue X. This has been CSP, comiXsensory Perception. It's what we do. We will see you next week.